I know about your report. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Natter with Niamh. And tonight, or today, this afternoon, this morning, whatever time you are at, we have the wonderful Nicole Tuxbury. Nicole is a Meta certified business manager, community manager, and a mindset and business strategy manager. She's an author, a podcast host. And what really drew me to Nicole was her story of her life-changing diagnosis at 21, um, which led her to all sorts of identity shifts and transformations, and actually really having to rethink how she lives her life and how she can do the things that we normal human beings or take for granted every day. So welcome, Nicole. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me, Niamh. I am doing great today. Thank you so much for asking.
You're welcome. So tell me, we'll just dive straight in. So at
Okay.
21, you had a life-changing diagnosis. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So when I was about 21, 22 years old, I went to the doctor because I'd had back pain since I can remember. I had an accident on a boat when I was 9. The waves were really high. The boat went up. I went up. The boat came down. I came down. And then my life
Ooh.
was changed forever. But I never went to a doctor. I didn't go to anything. So nothing there was no help for me at that time. And so I spent the next 10 years of my life in pain and trying to be an average teenager, and being told that I was lazy and that I couldn't do things. And it all came to a head when I was 21 and I went to this doctor. And he basically said, "You have the back of a disabled elderly woman. And if you stay on this path of being a server," I was a server at a restaurant carrying heavy trays and walking all day. He said, "You're going to be in a wheelchair in less than 5 years. You're going to lose your legs because your back is so badly injured." And yeah, and that was that. And so I had a choice to face in that moment. And I was like, well, that's one of the roads. He said I had 5 years. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do right now to change the road that I'm on, right? Because if that's one
Yep.
choice, there's got to be another road. Um, and yeah, and then that's where my whole life changed. I had to quit my job. I had to really look at what I was thinking about. I had to shift my perspective. I had to learn a new way to make money. I had to learn a new way to live, because it all finally made sense. It wasn't all in my head. My back was hurt.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and that is quite I had a diagnosis to get at 21. Actually, I think, it shows what a positive sort of person that you are and your mindset, because for that would have floored so many people. And they would have slumped into a depression and an oh, woe is me pity party.
I went
And
there.
they would have had no idea how to get out of that. Did you at least have a little bit of a pity party?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like this wasn't, I didn't walk out of the doctor's office be like, "I'm gonna change my life." Like it was, like they say, enlightenment it doesn't happen, like the sound of music, you're in the hills and the sun is shining and you're just perfectly dressed. Like that's not where enlightenment comes, right? It comes when you're like in bed, the lights are off, you're under the covers, you're crying, like everything is just wrong, and you really have to face yourself. And that is where I learned this lesson. um yeah, and it was in that moment where I was like, because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was like 15. And so I remember crying a lot. So that was like part of my daily life. I was having
Yeah.
daily panic attacks. I was crying every single day. And it came to the point where I was like, "Do you like this?" This is in my book. I was like, "Do you like feeling like this?" And so I really had to face myself and be honest with myself and be like, "No, I don't like this. It's very embarrassing. Like you're just minding your own business at work and boom, you're in a panic attack and everybody's like, 'Oh my God, that's the crazy girl.'" You know, but
Yeah.
that's the reality, right? And then so I got very lonely because I was all by myself. Nobody believed me. Like, "You're so young, you're so healthy, like you shouldn't be in so much pain." But I mean, I remember getting home from work and just laying in bed and crying, and like I couldn't move. It didn't matter what I did, if I was sitting down, if I was laying down, if I was standing up. It was just I was always in pain. I would wake
Mm.
up and I couldn't look down. um there was days where I couldn't move. My book was written one week where I don't even remember what I did, but I couldn't walk, I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't go to the bathroom, I couldn't wipe my own butt. I remember crawling in tears to the bathroom because I was like, I really just I have to pee. I can't wait another 6 hours,
Yeah,
for somebody to get home. And it was in that moment where my book was written. So, because I was like, are you just gonna sit here and cry and just be miserable? Is this like the rest of your life? And I was like, no, no, this can't be
yeah.
it. um and then that's where my book was born, and I was like, let me just write, let me start with my cell phone and a Bluetooth keyboard, and I just started typing away.
Okay, wow. And as you said, enlightenment doesn't happen in those moments of joy and freedom and stuff, does it? I mean, and again, for me, it happened in the bottom of that pit. It happened when I was at the very lowest of low, and it was suddenly, oh crap, are you going to keep doing this? Are you serious? Is this the way it's going to be? Don't you want it to get better? And yeah, it is. There's a wake-up call, isn't there? But I think sometimes you actually have to hit that very, very bottom, that low point, because it's so easy to get trapped in that. Oh, woe is me, my life is crap, and I can't do anything about it, and I don't know what to do about it. So the book, tell me a little bit more about your book, because a book is quite a huge thing. It's not an easy thing to do, and especially if you are like in the state you were in and in so much pain.
Yes, well, I've my whole life has been overcoming something, because my mom died when I was 1.5. And so that left me with a lot of pain, a lot of, abandonment issues, a lot of, core issues when you're 1.5, and then
Yeah.
your whole world changes, your caregiver goes away. Like that's a big deal. And then, but I do have my brother. My brother was born 15 minutes before she passed away, and he's bigger than me now. He was 2 months
Okay,
premature.
wow.
Yes, and I grew up around alcoholics. My grandparents were alcoholics. I remember my grandpa turned yellow when he was passing away. Um, and it was shocking. All he wanted was another beer, right? Because that was his thing. And so there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of strange behavior. And so when I was right before I found out about my back, I had miscarried my baby. And I was really sad. Like I was like, is this it? Like why didn't I die
Yeah.
instead of her? And I was like, that's what the moment where I was like, are you just gonna like fade into nothing? Like you're just gonna sit here and just
Mm,
become nothing and this is it? You're just gonna be a shell of yourself? And I was like, no, but if I'm gonna live, I wanna live. I don't wanna
mm.
just survive. I don't wanna drag myself through the mud. I want to know what's joy, what is happiness. Like what instead of this misery, what do I want? That's all I had known for
Yeah.
so long. And so getting the diagnosis about my back, that's where everything really came to a head. And that's where I learned that's where I learned gratitude, when I was losing the
Yeah.
baby, and I was like, what can I hang on to? What is the one thing that I can grasp? And that's where I really started teaching myself about gratitude. I was like, well, what can I be grateful for right this second, when I feel like I have nothing, when I feel like I'm hollow, when there's literally nothing left of me because my body couldn't even support my baby. Like I'm a
Mm.
terrible mother. Like that's what you think. Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
do the first part right, right? And so I was like, well, what can I be grateful for? And just the feeling of having had her, the you, the emotions that you feel when you're like, wow, like there's another human that I'm gonna have to take care of. And I found a way to be grateful for that, and
Yeah.
to understand my mom's journey a little bit more, how it was probably her honor to pass away as long as my brother could live, because I would have given anything for my baby to live. And so it was just this whole new
Mm.
world of understanding. And I was like, I cannot be in this position when I get pregnant again. Like, I don't want to be wondering if I can go buy diapers. I don't want to be wondering if I can, like, handle it. Like I want to know that I can do this. And so I used that practice of gratitude when I got the news about my back. That was just another layer of shit. It was just another, you know what I mean? Like how else are you going to describe it? And so like that's where gratitude, having practiced that, having learned that, I was like, well, what can I do right from where I am? And writing a book didn't require me to go anywhere. Writing a book just required me, I needed to do some research and I needed to be able
Mm.
to type. And then from there, I found an editor online, and and then I was like, well, how am I going to market my book before it comes out? And that's where my podcast was born. And as we're talking right now, we're about to hit my 100th episode coming up. And so I've
Okay,
just
wow.
expanded my world, and
Yeah.
I've done it all right from my home, right? Because I couldn't go anywhere when I first started this.
Yes, and it's amazing. And actually, that gratitude practice, I think we've spoken about this before because I was on your podcast and we spoke about the gratitude as well. And I have a gratitude practice I do every night before I go to bed. I do 5 things I'm grateful for that day. And even sometimes, like in the depths of despair, when I felt like in my life is never, when I look and I listen and all these stories I'm listening to now, and I think, okay, there were moments when I thought my life was thoroughly shit, actually. And I'm not getting into a comparison game here,
No, no, no.
but I haven't had it anywhere near as shit as some other people. And but it feels like everything just feels so personal to us, doesn't it? And when you're in that moment, and sometimes for me, just a good cup of coffee was one of the few things I could find to be grateful for. Yeah, during the day. The cat, who's now sitting on my knee, purring, sitting on my knee, that was something I could be grateful for during the day. So, the gratitude doesn't have to be the big things people think they have to be grateful for all, but actually it's just finding those tiny little things, isn't it, that can keep you going. The fact that a friend texted you, and even though you weren't in the right frame of mind to answer her or talk to her or whatever, just the fact that somebody was thinking of you can be so incredibly empowering in those moments of absolute despair. And not all of us get to write a book out of it, but I mean, I have written a book. It's a completely different kind of book to yours, but and I mean, I've written poetry. Poetry was like my outlet, I guess, for my emotions during those times for me. But so how did you kind of overcome the back problems? Do you still have them? Or I guess you do, if they said you had the back of an elderly woman. Um, is that
Yeah, my
still
back hurts right
ongoing?
now. It's hurting right now.
Or
Um, I had to work with my doctors. I had to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. Um, One really important thing to note about the that I mentioned that I was crying and having panic attacks every day. I actually had a vitamin deficiency. And so when I was finally honest with my doctor, I just had to get a vitamin treatment and then I didn't have to cry anymore. It wasn't something that it was in me, right? And so
yeah,
um that helped me a lot because now I could focus on getting strong. And so it was healing. It was understanding. I did going to a lot of chiropractors, doing a lot of workouts, working with the doctor. And I went, and one of my doctors recently was like, I don't see any herniation at all. So I still have the pain, but something that I was told that I wasn't supposed to be able to do because the doctor had originally told me that they were almost fused together. And then when I went back, the other doctor was like, I don't see any herniation at all. That's impossible. And so I did something that was apparently impossible. Um, so I do still have some pain. I have residual pain from, everything because it's in my lower back. So then my middle
yeah,
back hurts because it's compensating, and then my shoulders hurt, and then I'm neurodivergent. So like there's other stuff in my shoulders, and um but it's much better. Like I can wake up and I can look down. I can go to the theme parks, and like last Halloween Horror Nights, we walked 35,000 steps, you know.
okay, wow, yeah.
I tried dancing one night, and the next day I almost couldn't walk. So, so I still got some work to do. And it's literally just like the pain in my back, the nerves and things. But it's much better, and I take it day by day. I focus on my success habits. So like drinking water, making sure I'm moving because your body needs movement, getting your
Yeah,
steps. Even if you can't get your steps, like you could do like seated cardio, like get, just to be able to move. Reading, I love reading. I'm gonna get ready to write my other book, so that's gonna have to be part of my daily assignments, and just
Yeah.
focusing on the little things, like you said. And I play a game, like what's the smallest thing that you can think of to be grateful for? Because the magic really is in teaching your brain to search for those things. And so,
Yeah.
how small can it be? The sun shining through my window looks gorgeous. I have running water. My floor is not clean, but I have a floor and I can walk barefoot on it, because
Yeah.
I've been there where that wasn't a possibility for me. And so just finding like, oh, I just happen to love this color, or I'm so excited that I can breathe the oxygen on this world. Like we are
Yeah.
just far enough away from the sun that we get the heat, but it doesn't burn us. And it's perfect, right? And like, how could you not be
Yeah.
grateful for that? But I do remember a time where I didn't understand that. People would say, I'm so grateful just to wake up. And I was like, why? I didn't understand. And so I just want to let you know that there is hope on the other side of that. Um, the gratitude is like there's a part of your brain where if you don't use gratitude, if you're not used to practicing gratitude, it's kind of like a muscle and it'll be there, but it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? And the same thing happens
Yeah.
with our muscle. They atrophy if we don't use them. Like if you ever broken your arm, you take off the cast and you're like, what the heck? What happened to my arm, right?
Yeah.
The only way to get that muscle to start working again is to use it. Like the same way with my back. The only way to fix it was to start using it again, to start doing the exercises to strengthen the parts that weren't hurt, to support the parts that were. And the same thing with gratitude. And so the more you practice, the easier it's going to get. And so making a game of
Yeah.
it.
And also the thing is, and I found this as well, when you're in that kind of anxiety and low mood kind of spiral, it kind of becomes automatic. Whereas what you want is for the gratitude to become your
Mhm.
automatic, which is why I started doing the five things I'm grateful for every night before I went to bed, because as you said, it exercises that muscle. And now I do it every night. And when I go, if I go away and I don't have, because my notebook's quite hefty, and if these days airline charges, you have to, you know, pay a fortune to bring a decent sized bag. So I don't bring my notebook with me a lot of the time when I travel. So I just bring my phone and I keep notes on my phone. And then when I get home, I transfer them. And actually, that's even a good exercise is when the transferring them when I get home, because that gives you like, ooh, oh yes, even more grateful. It's
Yeah, and
just,
then you remember because it's so
yeah,
easy for us to forget.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's very easy, and it's very easy for us to get caught up in that kind of negative mindset, the oh woe is me, and and when I mean I remember the days when I was just having panic attacks, like I'd open the front door and I'd have a panic attack,
Mhm.
just to the very thoughts of going out. And now when I look back at that time and I think, wow, when I can't believe I was there, and you know, and getting through it wasn't easy, but gratitude was one of my main practices. And as you know, I mean, I'm a journaler. Journaling was, the other thing for me was the what do I need right now? Um, and that kind of when you just go quiet. But yeah, your journey just sounds absolutely amazing. To go from having being told at 21 that, in 5 years you could be in a wheelchair. And so many people would just accept that though,
Mhm.
and they would, and that's the thing I think, because our modern medicine is so fantastic that we tend to kind of believe the doctors and accept what they say. Whereas I've always been kind of like you, no, 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 nope. I'm not having that. There's got to be another choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I had to choose my heart, because healing and, doing doctor's appointments and paying for physical therapy and going to physical therapy and all the things that it entailed, that was not easy. It was not
Yeah.
fun. It hurt,
Yeah.
like I was on my inversion table and I would flip back over and that's it. Like I wouldn't be able to walk anymore because of the compression. I don't know, but I was like, well, it's either this or you learn how to navigate life in a wheelchair without being able to use your legs because they just won't work anymore.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, I think that sounds a little bit harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I chose my heart and I was like, no, let's do this. And that's what I had to remind myself when things were hard. Um, yeah.
It's the choosing yourself. And I think
Hmm.
that's what a lot of us, and I think particularly women in, well, in most societies, I think women are brought up to believe that they're here to serve everybody else and to put everybody else first. And I think it takes incredible strength and incredible courage to do as you've done and put you and your healing at the center of your life, because that's essentially what you've done, isn't it? You've turned around and said, no, hang on a minute. I'm way more important than that. This is not the life I want. And so you've put yourself into the center of, like, you put you into the center of your universe, which most of us don't do we? And you learn to do that at a very young age. So like, that's amazing.
Thank you, thank you. But it's because of all the hard stuff that I had to go through, right? Um, I from when I was very little. The other thing is I grew up with old people, because my mom died and my
Yeah,
dad was always working, and so I was with my grandparents, my great grandparents. And so I feel like a lot of life lessons got condensed because like literally the same people that raised my grandparents raised me. They raised my grandparents, they raised my parents, and then they raised me.
yeah.
So like I had some some old lessons, old school lessons, I guess. Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah, I guess because they had so much life experience and had lived. But then I guess they also probably passed some things down to you that you wouldn't necessarily be passing on to children these days, because things have changed and the way we think has changed.
Oh
So
yeah,
that,
like
yeah.
I would want to be outside playing and they'd be like, get in the house and go sew something. And I'd be like, but like I grew up, I know how to sew, I know how to cook, I know how to do all those old school things. And
Things.
I'd be wanting
Yeah.
to play with my brother and they'd be like, go play with your dolls. I'd be like, I want to play basketball. So yes, there are a lot of
Yeah.
things that I wouldn't necessarily pass down, but I love that I can do all these things that other people my age can't really do, like sewing, like all writing cursive. Like I love writing cursive. That's all I know. um math. I do math in my head because my grandparents, he was a
Yeah.
plumber, so he would always be working with plans and he's like, I don't have time for calculators. You need to do this in your head. And so that's what we learned.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things I'd love to pass on. But yeah, some of the other
Yeah.
things, not so much.
Yeah, as you know, I was teaching maths for the last 8 years to kids who can't do maths. And they always go, why can't we use a calculator? I said, there's no point in you using a calculator because you don't know yet what to put into the calculator.
Yes.
You got to learn it first. But yeah, some of those, I can't, so it's not for the want of trying. Um, we were taught at school and I just never got the hang of it. It's just one of those things.
Well, my grandmother was actually a seamstress. And so legend has it that my mom could not cook to save her life. She couldn't sew. So my grandma's like, no, I just passed the Gina. It passed over your mom and went to you. So
Yeah, no, my mum made all our clothes when we were little as well, so
oh,
she
that's
was really
cool.
good at dressmaking. But yeah, no, yes, it obviously definitely bypassed me. Um,
Does your child sew?
does my child? No, my both my daughters crochet.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
But see, the creative
yeah,
past.
um, my eldest daughter is one of those phenomenal people, actually really incredibly annoying people that it doesn't matter what she does, apart from sports. She's really good at it. You're one of those annoying people.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is annoying because you don't know what you're good at. You don't know what your thing is because you're good at a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or you could be like me and I don't seem to excel at anything except talking.
That is probably not true. And I think that as women, we're really hard on ourselves.
So, yeah.
And we hold ourselves to an impossibly high standard because look at you go, like look at you podcasting, look at all the things you do. And you're
Yeah.
amazing, girl. Like
Yeah. But when it comes to crafts and things with your hands, I'm not. Yeah, that's not
Okay, all right, I'll give you that.
yeah, yeah.
I can't draw to save my life. That
Yeah,
is not my thing. Give me Canva all day, but like give me like pen and
yeah,
paper and ask me to draw something and that's it. I'm dead in the water
yeah.
because I
No, I
cannot.
mean, I can't draw. I always got thrown out of art class in school for talking. Um,
I was always in trouble for talking too, so don't worry. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's funny though, isn't it? The things. Well, my dad was incredibly good with his hands as well. Like he made all our built-in wardrobes in our house, and he built
Oh,
boats
that's
and
so cool.
everything, and he built his own stereos. And I think, yeah, okay, that's that. But my son has inherited that bit. Like he's incredible with, that sort
Oh.
of thing. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it, the way things kind of bypasses or we just don't pick up on them. Oh yeah, there was something else I wanted to talk to you about now, and I can't remember what it was. Um, your podcast, I think, maybe. So you have your own podcast,
I do. Yes.
and it's called Over.
It's named after my book, so it's called Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Oh, it's on my shirt.
Overcome Yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you're about to reach your 100th episode, which is phenomenal.
Yes, I'm so excited. That was my original goal. It was get to 100, and it took me a while, but we're getting there, so
And so
soon.
they're all guests.
No, they are not all
Yeah.
guests. So
Some of
I
them,
do have
some of
a
them.
majority are with guests, but there's a lot that are just solo as well.
Okay, good. So it's nice to have a mix, isn't it? It's good. So,
Yeah.
so if somebody, I know somebody who's listening to our to us Natter today, and wanted to come on your podcast, could they apply to do that? Or are you continuing it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can reach out to me like on Facebook, reach out to me on my website. I have um can I say the landing page of my freebies? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So if
I'm
you
going to
go
put
to over
everybody's I'm going to put everybody's details in anyway. So
perfect.
the whole idea is
So right now, I believe that there's a button all the way at the bottom. If not, I could put it there. NicoleTuxbury.com/overcome yourself resources, and there's dashes, but I'll make sure that the link is down there. Um, and then there's like a bunch of stuff there that you can, and then you can apply to be a guest on my podcast. Um, I'm just thinking because I know I made one page for sure. It has that link, and I'm not sure if the one, but by the time this
yeah.
comes out, it'll be there. So you're good. Go there,
And I will
and
put
and I'll
those.
make sure it's there.
Yeah. My idea with this podcast is obviously, as I explained to you, is connection. I want people to connect with each other. So I will be putting people's socials and other things they
Perfect.
want in on the podcast in the links when I've worked out how to do it. However, I do it. I haven't decided yet. I'm hoping to put this onto Spotify as well as YouTube. So
Oh
we'll
yeah, well,
see.
we can talk about that after. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
because I
we'll
can
talk
tell you
about that.
exactly how to do that.
So, is there anything else you want to share with people while we're here, or?
Something that really like stood out to me that is just been in my brain, is one of the chapters in my book is why I stopped trying to be happy. And I realized that happiness is a chemical reaction that happens in your brain. You're happy, these chemicals go, they get in your brain, right? So it's physically impossible to be happy all the time because
Yeah.
if all those chemicals were always going, then it would just feel neutral, right? Like it would just be our regular. And so I realized that what I was actually looking for was joy. I wanted to live in joy. And I see joy the same way that Brene Brown talks about hope, where it is a cognitive process versus an emotion. And by practicing gratitude, that is where I was able to shift my perspective to live out of joy. Because what's in you comes out of you, right? Like it's what overflows.
Mm.
And so I just want to mention like you don't have to be happy all the time. That doesn't it's not real, okay? The commercials are like
No.
happy. It
Yeah.
can't happen. But you can choose to live in joy. And then when those moments of happiness do come and you're living in joy, they're just even better, right? They're even happier because you're
Yeah.
gonna feel even more ecstatic. And so that was what was in my brain is stop trying to be happy and start living in joy.
I mean, a long time ago, I decided I was going to go for contentment rather
Mhm.
than that pure happiness. And I would say that I am totally content in my life. Obviously, there are moments, of sheer pure joy. When I go to see Bruce Springsteen, um, and those, obviously everybody has the low moments, but you said, life is a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? We're never kind of, and it would be so boring if we were stuck or static. No, I don't mean stuck, but static, wouldn't it? If we didn't have those highs and lows, if we didn't, like if we think of light and darkness, we have to have the opposite with our feelings as well, don't we? Because then we don't recognize, like, how do you recognize joy if you're there all the time, or happiness if you're there all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, it just becomes stagnant. It just becomes stale, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
well, this is my normal. This is homeostasis. So like yeah, and then you're just blah, right? So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, life is meant to be experienced, and we experience it through our emotions, through the ups and downs, and hopefully more ups than downs. And I'm hoping that our conversation today has helped somebody, and even if it helps just one person. Your story is phenomenal. Thank you for coming to share it with us, Nicole. And I look forward to connecting with you, however I decide to do that in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Niamh. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.